As you know, we use this platform to share stories of resilience. And today I have a very special guest. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Sally Allen podcast. I'm your host, Sally Allen, and today we have a special guest, Miss Christy Lopez. Christy, welcome to the Sally Allen podcast.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, but before we go into it, I want to tell you all about her. She's a super special lady. She is a multiple international pageant title holder, including Miss Regency International 2017. There is so much. Miss Philippines World 2018, Miss World America Petite 2021. She's also director, executive producer of Regency International, West Coast pageant. She's a spoke model. She's a television producer and a camera host. She's very, very accomplished, and I feel it's so important to give her the accolades. So Christy-Anne is also a proud CEO of Studio Sash. She helped young ladies reach their pageant goal. I love that. She also worked with public figures like Nicki Minaj, Paula Abdul, and many more. You know, she also works on television network, which producing a crime show right now, and on Fox. What's My Ex TV? Is that, did I say that correct?
Mixed TV, same
Mixed
thing.
TV,
NYX, yeah, same thing.
E! Entertainment, a cast member for the Food Network, Chef Dynasty. What an impressive young lady. Currently, she is a story producer for a true crime show on A&E, which should be premiered shortly. But most importantly, she just acquired this new crown, new title, Miss Universe 2023. Welcome, Miss Universe 2023.
Oh my gosh, thank you. Sally, I have to bring you everywhere. You're like my new hype woman. I'm like, oh my gosh, we can be done now.
I know. And my problem is I don't do well reading. Like, I'm good off script, but when I have to read it, I still botch.
No, you're phenomenal. Flawless.
Yeah,
Thank you for that amazing intro. Thank you.
So how do you feel? Like, you've just acquired this crown. You went up against how many other contestants?
Oh gosh, there were so many amazing women from across the globe, teams from Japan, Germany, all over the UK. So there was about 50 plus women in this pageant. So I was able to be crowned Ms. Universe Petite in the Petite division. And as far as how it feels, to be honest, it doesn't even feel real yet. This is my very first time appearing in public wearing the full sash and crown. So I'm so appreciative to be here to speak with you. And you know, it's been a very long journey, a very long road. Pageantry for me isn't something that I grew up in. It's not like I was like, you know, a 10, 12 teenager or a girl that grew up in pageantry. This is just something that I just jumped into later in my life and fell in love with it. But as a young girl, as you're watching, you know, Miss USA and Miss Universe on TV, especially for the Filipino culture, I was like, oh my gosh, I want to be Miss Universe one day. And you know, as far as the age limits go, that ship sailed a long time ago.
Yeah.
So, you know, as I began to gain experience in pageantry, I discovered, oh, there's a Ms. Universe pageant. So I can be at my age with my accomplishments and still be able to accomplish the dream title of Miss Universe. So it really does feel like a dream come true.
Wow. And in your bio here, I saw that you mentor young ladies, right, who wants to be model and who wants to be in pageants. What got you into that? Like, what propelled you to do that? I know because of what you do, but there's always a why behind what we do.
Yeah, of course. So I think I didn't realize the amount of growth and the experience I was going to get jumping into pageantry. And a quick backstory, I jumped into pageantry because I was going through a divorce. I was in a very, very tough place. I was, you know, I felt like I had hit rock bottom. So I had a good friend who was like, just try this pageant, do this pageant. And I'm like, pageants. I'm like, first of all, I'm old. Like, this is weird.
You look 25, by the way, so I don't know what you're talking about being old.
I feel like as a woman, like you're in your later 20s and you start to feel, I mean, that's a completely different conversation, but now I have a different mindset. Anyhow, so I jumped into the pageant when I was in a very tough place, and I didn't realize the reset and the growth I was going to get out of it. And so with that, as I was, around other women, as I was competing who were younger, ages 10, 12, 15, I found a place to mentor and coach. And, I had been a coach my whole life. My very first job was a cheerleading coach. So I have a soft spot for just young women and giving them a place to believe. And I don't think that I had a lot of support growing up. Everything that I've really done has just kind of been my own self-motivation. And sometimes you really just need a cheerleader behind you. And so it became a place where I got to be a cheerleader for a lot of girls. And I'm just very lucky that I was able to turn a passion into a business, but it doesn't feel like a business at the end of the day because I know I'm helping empower young women.
And you're loving it too.
Love it.
Love it, yeah. So as you're talking, I pictured you walking across the stage, and this question came to mind. As you walk across the stage, do you look at the other women and think, oh my gosh, I don't stand a chance? Or your mindset is, I'm in this and I'm going to win it? Like, is there any time you feel doubt and insecurities as you're looking at these other women?
Oh my gosh, of course.
Oh.
I think that's the truth and honest. That is the honest part about pageantry, is it is such a mental game.
Yeah.
Just like any sport, just like anything, you have to just make sure that you have the right mindset. And really what I tell my girls and what I've learned to tell myself is, at the end of the day, what's meant for you will not pass you by. You've got to put yourself in uncomfortable situations. It's up to God. It's up to your timing. And it's all about just what you're going to get after the results. Yeah. So, even in this past competition, I'm like, oh my God, there's no way. Like, I'm not going to get crowned.
Wow.
But at the same time, I think that when you are raised as an athlete or have just certain mindset and goals, you go back to that. I revert back to that. I'm like, no, wait, I believe in myself enough to know that I can accomplish this. And if not, then maybe it just doesn't happen right now.
Right. I like that. So you're going into the mindset with, whether I do or whether I don't, I'm already prepared for either outcome.
Absolutely. And I always say, whether it's to my clients or I just remind other girls who are competing, when you sign up for a pageant, the odds are stacked against you. You have more of a chance to lose than win. But why not give yourself a shot, Take a gamble and bet on yourself.
So what is your biggest challenge? And I know that there's a lot of mental resilience going into it. But when you're out there on that stage, or you're getting ready to go on stage, I want to talk about your mindset there. And what is your biggest challenge? Are you just standing there waiting on your turn?
Everything to me just comes down to presence. Just
interesting. Yeah.
Being present in the moment, finding so much gratitude. And it's funny because as you're talking to me, I think that you have this like magic to you that like brings me back to these moments. So I'm like, oh, I'm feeling vulnerable. But no, I think that as a performer, it doesn't matter if it's pageantry or whatever it is, you do your best to enjoy the moment, take it all in, and breathe and have fun. That's all it is. And as a judge, they see a certain spark in a girl who's like, she is loving her life on that stage. She is living her best life. And so for me, I think that it's such a privilege to be able to present yourself to anyone and to be in a place to be able to inspire others. So that's really what I think about.
You know what? I love that, because sitting here doing this episode with you, I'm thinking the same thing. Sitting here, being present with you, being in the moment, not trying to think up like, oh my gosh, what am I going to say next? But just let it flow. Like, that's a good reminder to me. I just sit here and enjoy your presence with this beauty queen.
Yes. Let it flow, let it go.
Oh my gosh, let it flow. So talking about let it flow, so what is the biggest lesson you've learned? Let's close out this segment with, what is the biggest lesson you've learned throughout this whole process you've been through? Because one, how long did it take? And two, what's the biggest lesson?
I did my, I started to take pageantry seriously back in 2016. So this has been a long road, but I kept going every year and I earned a title every single year since 2016. So I guess my biggest lesson is to keep going and to be brave enough to keep going. I sometimes think that people are so afraid of failure, losing. What if it's so much easier to be comfortable where you are. I truly feel like I thrive in a challenging place. So continue to challenge yourself because at the end of the day, you only live once. So, be able to grasp all of the amazing experiences and things that you can grow from, where you can.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. So, how does a beauty queen, Miss Universe 2023 goes from being a beauty queen into producing a crime show on A&E, no less?
Well, actually, I was in television production before I was in pageantry. So as soon as I got out of college, I went to college for broadcast journalism at Cal State Fullerton. From there, I went to America's Most Wanted for my internship out in D.C.
Yeah.
So that's really where I started, was investigative journalism before true crime was what it is today. And, I learned so much just reporting from a hard news standpoint and being able to be an advocate for some of these open cases. But in my heart, I'm like, I want to be on E. I want to be in entertainment and do all these things. That life just works in funny ways. So I ended up going to entertainment. I worked at True Hollywood Story. I might totally be aging myself. Some people don't even know what that is.
I feel like we need 4 hours to dig into everything that you do. You do so much. But one of the things I heard you said twice now, like you just knew when you were younger what you wanted and you got it. You wanted to be, I wanted to be a beauty queen. I wanted to produce a show on A&E, and you're doing those things. So it's incredible, your mindset and your resiliency, that you go after what you want. How did you build that incredible mindset? I was listening to a podcast this morning where this guy was talking about this is why people fail. It's because they make excuses, and he lists these 5 things, and then he's like, this is why they succeed. And one of the things I see is that you're not making excuses, you're just going after what you want. So talk to me about your mindset. Where did you build that resilient mindset?
Oh, gosh, that is a good question. And I think I've always surrounded myself with very positive-minded, goal-oriented people. My dad has always been a big inspiration in my life, a fierce athlete. As far as the goals of working in production and being an on-camera host, one of my mentors is my cousin, Angeline, who was a Fox 11 news anchor. So thankfully, I was able to see those who were close to me doing the things that they love to do. And so I think that really was the imprint of, well, if my cousin can, maybe I can. And that's always been it for me. I grew up in a very... as a minority in my hometown. And I would say, for example, like as an MC or a host for pep rallies, it was always like against me. And people were like, oh, you can't do that. You're like the Asian girl. I'm like, well, watch me. I will. So I think I've always just done my best to prove to myself. It was never about I'm going to prove to others or prove people wrong. I know people kind of bring that theme up. But to me, it's always like if I can envision it, I may not know how long it's going to take, but I think I'm pretty sure I can get there. So everything always comes down to your belief system. And so I didn't know about manifestation and visioning and all these different prophecies that people live their lives by. But when I go back and think about my life, girl, let me tell you, like my first car, it was a Jeep. And, grew up 90s. I wanted to, just wanted to be like Sharon Clueless. I'm like, I'm getting a black Jeep with chrome bumpers on the side. What was my first car? And I told myself, I'm going to get straight A's. I'm going to get into college because my dad said I can have any car I want if I can do that. Girl, I worked hard for it. But, and I think that gets me to my point is you have to work hard.
Yes.
Everything in life it's just the law of attraction. It's the law. it's the law of life. If you don't put work into it, it's just like planting a garden. If you don't tend to your garden, when are you going to see those fruits?
Yeah.
So I take that with everything I do. And so it's all about belief and work ethic at the end of the day.
Yeah. And what I heard that you said is surround yourself by people, the people you want to be like. Yeah, who inspires you? What do you want to be? Do you want to be a model and surround yourself by those people? Right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Talk to us about iHeartRadio. What do you do there?
Oh, yes. So that's I'll be heading to that gig right after this fun little session with you. But I am a product specialist and spokesmodel for Hyundai, the car manufacturer. I've been with them for the past couple of years. And so essentially I'm at all of the auto shows or their sponsored events. So I'm really there to be able to talk about the specs and the new models that are coming out. And I love it. It's just been a part of my life. The team is amazing. And, kind of being a car girl was always one of my interests growing up.
Again,
I used to be
being a
like,
car
I'm
girl.
gonna memorize all the logos. I know all those cars, just because it was like, I'm gonna feel like a cool girl if I know the cars. But so it kind of paid off in a lot of ways.
And now you know all the cars? You know all the cars now?
I mean, yes and no. I don't want to say that like I'm like a, total car pro, because then I'm stuck in a place where it's like, well, what about this?
Are you allowed to
model?
say what brand? What brand
that?
do you like? Are you allowed to talk about like what model and brand you like?
Well, technically, I drive the opposing team of what I work for, so I would just rather not. But I mean, one day Lamborghini for me, or I'll be in my G-Wagon, and we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. You don't strike me as someone who really care about materialistic stuff. That you're like, I just want something that takes me from point A to point B.
It's so true. I really don't. I've been through so many different phases in my life where I'm just so happy being a minimalist. Nice things are great. But I feel like I grew up in a very humble upbringing, which I'm very grateful for. I didn't grow up with a silver platter. I was able to just love what I had and be grateful for what I have, and will continue to earn along the way. But like I said before, I've been in places where I'm living in my car. I only have the things that I have in my suitcase, where that's filled with 4 pairs of heels, and I'm like, it's okay, I'll get there. I'll figure it out one day. We'll see. And I laugh about it now, but that's why.
So how many pairs of heels you have now? That was 4 back then.
Well, thanks to Hyundai, truly, just a lot more.
Yeah.
So this is just a shout out to Hyundai for the whole outfit today.
Yeah, we're giving Hyundai free ad here, Austin. Are you seeing that?
Right.
We'll send the bill to them. Oh my gosh. So who is your role model? I know your dad. You mentioned your dad, but who else? If you look out there, who was your biggest role model?
Oh gosh. This is a very pageant question.
Was that right? I didn't even know.
Well, it's like my dad, my mom, my cousin. There's so
yeah.
many people that I surround myself with who have just, gone out of their way for me, and I feel indebted to them. One of my mentors is Amber Anthony, who gave me the opportunity to compete at the pageant. She sponsored my registration. So I feel like if it wasn't for her, then I wouldn't be where I am today.
Yeah.
I think of Chef Kathy Fang, who I just did this series on Food Network with, Chef Dynasty House of Fang. In my career, as far as on camera, a lot of opportunities took off because of her, and she's just an incredible, hardworking woman. So I really cannot just name one, because I feel like even with you, Sally, I'm meeting amazing women all the time, and so. But if I'm going to say my role models, I gotta say my mom. She is a fierce, amazing, hardworking woman, and I feel like I have more appreciation for her every day. So
Yeah.
I won't cry. I'm just not thinking of reflecting on things at the moment.
Good. Twice I got you. I'm doing good.
Well, I'm a Cancer, so I'm very emo. I just cry at the drop of a hat. And I'm tired, so I'm like, here we go.
And with that, the other, my other question flew out of my head. So your mental resiliency, you do a lot, and you're so busy, right? What do you do for self-care and just your mental resiliency to maintain so that you fill your cup for you go out there and give what's overflowing from you?
I love that you bring that up, because I share that with people all the time. it is my priority in life to take care of myself first. I've been in too many places in my life where I felt completely emptied, and then I was the last one to be, on my list to take care of, and struggled. So for me, life is about finding that balance and harmonious place where everything that I do, I know that I'm feeding into something for myself. I get a lot of fulfillment with my job. So as hard as it is, I really do love it. Even my hobbies such as pageantry, it feeds a lot of rewarding aspects of my life. But as far as self-care, I always go back to having that structure and routine somewhere. So for me, it's always first thing in the morning, I have to give it to myself. I am an early riser. I hydrate, take my dog out, come back and journal. That's my form of meditation for me.
Yeah.
And just my walks in the morning and just being able to give myself quiet time and appreciate the sunrise, appreciate my surroundings. That for me is number one. And then outside of that, I love spending time with my family. So, at least once a week, I'm hanging out with my sister or I'm with my nephews. And so that for me, refuels me.
Yeah, I feel that and I hear you because I don't get on my phone on social media or anything. Just my alarm goes off about 6:10. For some reason, I can't wake up at 6. It has to be 6:10. I need that 10 minutes. 6:10.
Yes.
And I go right into my workout, my quiet time, my Bible studies, my prayer. So my time, those 3 hours are just for me. If you text me, if you're super, super special, you'll get a text from me. But anybody else, nobody gets my attention until that 8:55.
Mm-hmm.
And then I get on my phone and then I start doing everything. And that has changed my life.
Yep.
Because my mornings are less chaotic.
Yes.
And there's so much structure to it and I feel better.
Yeah.
Yeah, throughout the
It
day.
sets the tone.
It
It
sets
just
the
sets the tone for your day.
And do you feel if you don't do it, you're not okay all day?
Yeah, just things feel just slightly more chaotic.
Yeah.
But yeah, just like we said, it's once you feed yourself with the things that you need, it's so much easier to take on the day, to take on interaction,
Yeah.
and to properly serve others. So you've got to serve yourself first. And
Oh, totally. Fill yourself with those personal development in quiet time just fills your cup and overflows it. So then you have more to give to people.
yes.
Yeah, I always tell people, so when my cup's full, I'm ready to go. No, when your cup's full, that's for you. Up to here is for you. The rest you can give to people. So you constantly have to stay overflowing to give to people.
And sometimes I think that we forget how much we're putting out for everyone all the time because of social media. It's always expending energy, giving out so much. And, we've got to be able to see it materialistically in a way or just visually on how you can just be able to, like we said, fill up my pitcher. It's not even a cup at this point. We have to do so much for others. I need a whole keg.
Fill up your keg and overflow it. But I want to talk to you a little bit about that because I think people think social media is what drives our business and our brand. And I find it so sometimes it takes so much from me to keep going in and you have to keep your foot on the gas because then your algorithms and this mess up. How do you maintain that? Because you're always on there.
Sure. This is what I'm telling myself now. I think if I answered that question a few months ago or a few years ago, I'd be like, this is your opportunity to be able to connect with others. But now, I think once you get to a certain place where you're trying to find that harmonious balance in your life, you just got to go with what feels right. The moment that I feel like social media is too much at the moment, I let it go.
Yeah.
And I think that people are energetically able to feel that. If I'm not on my stories all the time, people are like, hey, are you good? Honestly, I'm just checked out right now. I'm not trying to be on social media. And I think that people appreciate, just if you're living your life, you're living your life. And I think that's what we need to start to understand too, is just let people just live their lives. We do not have to live it through this little screen anymore. And I get it, you're having to pick up on engagement and things like that. You don't want to fall off the wagon. But like at the end of the day, I mean, what's meaningful to me are my true in-person interactions.
Yeah.
You know, if we can connect through social media, wonderful. But, you know, let everybody just genuinely and authentically live their lives.
I like that.
I think that's where we're at in social media now. I'm not trying to put too much pressure on myself to constantly feel present and make sure that I'm here and, you know, all of those things. It's just, it is a part of our lives now, but I think that we can be able to start to settle in it and being like, when you're on, you're on. When you're not, you're not.
Yeah. I love how transparent and humble you are.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You too.
And you said something that came back because of who you are. You said all the things I did. It just keep ringing in my head, so I have to bring it up again. All the things I did for me. I didn't do for other people. And that's coming out in everything you say. I can see it. Like, I'm just doing this for me. I don't care if my algorithms fall off. I don't care what happened. This is for me. When I'm ready, I'm going to go back. And I can take a lesson from that. You know, I can surely take a lesson because it so resonates with me. So thank you for sharing that.
Yes, of course. I think that, you know, it's not selfish to be able to serve yourself the way that you need to serve yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and we live in a very interesting time where there's a lot of ego, and ego comes to play in a lot of the interactions and things that we do. But, you know, as I'm losing my train of thought, it's kind of just one of those things where we just got to respect each other where we're at, with what we're doing, with what our goals are, with what our intentions are. And I think that, you know, I just do my best and to show people that, like, my intentions are always positive and pure. I'm not out to be what I'm not. I'm not really sure what I'm trying to say with that.
I get what you're trying to say. I get what you're trying to say.
Yes.
I get what you're trying to say. Don't worry about it. And as you were speaking, I was trying to keep the next question in my head instead of writing it down, and I forgot because I'm trying to listen to it.
Of course, yeah.
Oh,
Right.
we're on the same page,
I know.
and I thought that question was so good what I was going to ask you, but I don't remember. Okay. So usually ask, is there something about you that people don't know? Like, you do so much and it's out there, but is there something you absolutely love and it's your little thing and nobody knows about it?
Nobody knows about it. I've always found myself to be very much of an open book, but I think people are usually caught by surprise that I love sports. Like, I'm very competitive. And so people just think that, like, oh, she's just a little, like, you know, girly girl beauty queen, but like, I could go in on, or I just love games. Like, I love, like, beer pong. I go hard. You know what I mean? Like, just, and people don't expect that from me. And I always feel like that's an advantage. Like, who's this prissy little girl that I'm like, you don't even know,
Let
bro.
me show you. Let me show you.
So I guess as far as, like, you know, surprising people in a way, it would be that. But I think it would just be more of the places I've been and things that I've had to pull myself out of. You know, people don't expect that, you know, I was homeless and living in my car. People don't expect that I was having to start over a few times in my life. And I feel like, you know, you don't get to a place of just being fully grateful for life unless you've kind of lost it all. You know what I mean? So I think that always catches people off guard. And they're always like, oh, where do you know, get your attitude from? But it's because it's like, you can lose everything tomorrow.
Yeah.
You don't know what is going to happen in your day. So I just do my best to, you know, YOLO and be present and, you know, remain grateful and just do my best.
I really like that. We're one decision away from, like, anything that can happen.
No, it's
Yeah,
like
one decision away to change your life completely.
Oh, yeah. Earlier this year, I got T-boned in a car accident. Even that was kind of like, dude, I've just been dealing, like, with financial struggles since then. But, you know, in that moment, it's like, wow, I really could have been wiped out and done, you know? And then you feel like you get a second chance again to be like, let me just put life in perspective.
Yeah,
again.
and let me not hold on to anything tightly. Just hold on to everything loosely because you never know what can happen.
Yes.
I just like that so much. Yeah. So you had started talking to me about was it a fundraiser that you were going to do at the beginning? You were telling me, talk to us about that.
Well, as we were on the subject of true crime and things like that, and a little bit about my background of why I jumped into pageantry and my divorce. I am a survivor of domestic violence, and so again, very grateful that the story of the heels in my carry on. I fled my home for my own safety and just packed what I could and left. And so, next month, October, is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And that has always been one of my really big platforms in pageantry as a survivor. And just to share a quick story, and the investigation is happening now, but a sister queen, a woman who just competed at the Regency International pageant this past July. Unfortunately and very sadly, we just heard the news last week that she passed away. We started to look into her passing, and it turns out it was a homicide. And so we're very curious as to what these details are. And so we don't have an update yet, but it was just a reminder, as we're talking about, you never know what can happen in life.
Yeah.
And so myself, my sister queens, my queens who are in my delegation, all the girls who are the Regency, California, and Nevada girls, I want to start a campaign as soon as October hits to at least educate and raise awareness to the domestic violence hotline. Abuse comes in so many forms, and I think that, maybe it's not talked about enough. And there's never, it's never too soon to reach out for help, to be able to see if there's a resource for you. So 1, and 2, yes, I would love to be able to start a fundraiser as well as a clothing drive for a local shelter here in Vegas. And so if you're listening, I am open to finding any nonprofit here in the area. I haven't exactly chosen one yet. Me and my other sister queens and my girls are kind of putting our heads together. But, the time is now. Yeah. My platform, as you know, with working in true crime and for missing kids, it's let's keep our women and children safe.
Yeah.
This is such a vulnerable time, and the least we can do is educate.
Yeah, I really like that. Educating and awareness is so important, because sometimes I don't think people realize they're in abusive situations.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've grew up until I was 28 in abusive situations, and I didn't even know that it should be different. Mm-hmm. I just thought this was normal. Mm-hmm. So educating and bringing awareness is so important. I'd love to have you back next month to go a little bit into what you've been through and give some wisdom to people out there and talk more about awareness. I think it's so important.
I would love to. I would love to. I can go into that for days, and I think that I'm finally able to talk about it the way that I do now.
Yeah.
Because, it was one of those topics where I would just be in tears crying, talking to judges in a pageant room. They're like, what's the hardest time in your life? And I'm like, I can't get a point across.
Yeah.
But like you said, there are many women and men. It doesn't matter what gender you identify with, but who are in abusive situations,
right.
or that are reaching out for help in somehow, some way. And so it's always conversation that just needs to be had.
Yeah,
that's all.
I agree. Austin, do we have a question from our audience?
Give me a minute. I have to find one. I have a list of them. So let me find.
Right.
We can edit all this out, of course.
Yeah, we get questions. We put questions from audience.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
awesome.
like we add something new to the show to say what's the question.
Fabulous! I love
that. We will remove all of this.
Okay.
Of course. Well, I will remove all of it.
We're talking
the raw. I know
the
raw stuff.
Yeah, the raw stuff. What would you say? What's a quick takeaway for our audience before we go into this question?
Oh, as in takeaway, just something to share.
In general, something you want to, you want people to know. It could be about resiliency. It could be about domestic violence. It could be go after your dreams.
Well, as we sit here and we kind of reflect on a lot of those different themes, one of my biggest phrases, and I think when we met at this Elite Network event, one of the themes is be brave. Mm. You've got to remember to be brave. Whether just step up to the plate. You know what I mean? if you're feeling fear, good, then go for it. Acknowledge your fear, be brave, and take that step. You know what I mean? So whether it's starting a podcast, whether it's should I sign up for this pageant, or should I tell somebody about the issues that I'm dealing with, you've got to be brave. Believe in yourself to know that if you're thinking it and you want it, you can get it. You just got to be brave and take that next step forward. And maybe you don't know what that next step is, and maybe your answer, you have questions in your head of what do I do to head towards that? Ask somebody. But you've got to be brave enough to take that next step.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And I think people forget that being brave is not feeling brave. It's taking that step forward. That's every step you take is the step towards bravery out of the fear you're feeling.
Yes. And anxiety is a really big thing right now. Or people are, I'm glad that everybody is talking about their anxiety and their anxiousness. But, anxiety is just the fear of not knowing the future. It's the fear of not knowing what's to come.
Yeah.
But take the power back. Take control. And I think that can be able to pull back and at least minimize that anxiousness. We all live with some sort of anxiety. Yeah. But it's just more of the focus on, okay, there's the fearful side. I feel very anxious and I'm full of anxiety. That's the negative connotation. And then there's the positive side of, even though I'm very scared, I think I can. And I think I'm just going to go for it. So
Boom.
Be brave, boo.
Boom. And every time you take a step forward, you build your self-confidence and the fear slowly falls away.
That's exactly it. And what I tell my clients all the time, you will never know until you walk away and then you say, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that. Oh my gosh, I'm so proud of myself. I've just, leveled up in your game of life,
I love it. So Austin, do we have any questions from our audience?
Yes, and it's more directed towards you, Sally, as being a coach.
Okay.
I just lost it. Here we go. What is the role of self-discovery in the coaching process, and how do you guide clients in finding their true selves?
So we're talking about self-discovery and how do we get clients to finding their true self. That's a really good question. I think self-discovery, and you will agree hopefully with this, it's about asking a lot of questions. Self-discovery comes with talking to the person, asking questions, and getting to know who they are. Today's session that we did is more of a high-level self-discovery about you, who you are, why do you do what you do, and what drives you, what builds your resiliency. And then during that self-discovery, Austin, we learn about what they struggle with. Do you struggle with fear? Do you struggle with anxiety? What's your biggest fear? And then we go into whatever modality they struggle with and start working on that. What's your take on that?
So perfectly said. I was just going to give an example of working with especially younger girls, preteens, in pageantry, because I think that in pageantry they want to fit themselves into a mold and what they think the judges want. Yeah. But truly, it is about self-discovery and asking yourself those questions. And so what I always say is that if you are on that path of self-discovery or you're joining a pageant, we're going to dig into who you are. And we're going to start journaling, and we're going to start writing down the good, the bad, the ugly. What are your goals? Why do you think that you feel this certain way about yourself? Why do you want to be in this pageant? What are things that you want to get out of this opportunity? And with that process, you uncover so many amazing things about yourself.
Yes. Thanks, Austin. That was a great question. So we're getting ready to wrap. Any final thoughts before we wrap up?
This has just been an amazing time with you, and I'm so grateful for it. And you're such an amazing host, and Austin, you're killing it back there producing, and I would love for more opportunities to be able to dive into certain topics with you.
We'll talk about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
awesome.
Austin is the best producer. And with that, friends, thank you for listening. It's a wrap. Until next time.